Nick Shirley has decided to dredge up this old conspiracy theory that Tim Walz had something to do with the murder of Mellisa Hortman. In a tweet to Tim Walz, he says, "Why was she killed? Speaking out against illegal immigrants. Was she a threat to you and your fraudster theme? Rip to Mellisa Hortman." Prayer hands emoji. Heart emoji. This is ridiculous. So what he's talking about is the bill that Mellisa Hortman voted on, HF1. And that whole thing falls apart when you consider the fact that Vance Boelter actually targeted people from both sides of the vote. Mellisa Hortman was the lone vote, yes, on the Democrat side. But he also went to John Hoffman's house and attempted to assassinate him. John Hoffman voted no on that bill, so that doesn't make any sense. He also went to 2 other lawmakers' house before going to the Hortmans. Minnesota state Republicans deny this as a motive. According to Julia Coleman, a state senator for Minnesota, spoke out against this conspiracy theory. She said Mellisa Hortman voted for the bill to keep the government open, not because she agreed with it. That's why she was crying in the video that's been circulating. It's because she had empathy. Boelter only targeted Democrats. He had a list of 70 different targets, and all the lawmakers on there were Democrats, and they weren't just Minnesotans. He had Illinois on there as well, which, if you're considering the Tim Walz angle, that doesn't make any sense. He had other lawmakers from Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Texas, Planned Parenthoods from nearby states, and doctors, which points to a different motive entirely. He wrote a long, rambling letter to Kash Patel that contained an entirely different conspiracy theory that contradicts this one. HF1 wasn't mentioned at all. Instead, he said that Tim Walz wanted him to kill Amy Klobuchar because he was going to run for senator, which also doesn't make any sense. And Keith Ellison was going to be part of it too. Keith Ellison was also on his list of people. The Star Tribune interviewed Dr. Farnsworth, a forensic psychiatrist, about this letter. He said of it, "The whole letter smacks to me of a guy that's got mixed illusions with grandiose and persecutory beliefs." This points to Vance Boelter's mental state being unstable. In jail communications with the New York Times, he said cryptic but also religiously motivated things like, "Because I love my neighbors prior to June 14th, I conducted a 2-year-long undercover investigation." Boelter had a fantasy life that was not based in reality. Like, he said that he was approached and trained by the U.S. military off the books. Prosecutors have denied that Vance Boelter had any sort of military training at all. Vance Boelter had a history of religious fanaticism. At 17, he found Jesus after a friend he met at the canning plant he worked at. When David Emerson, his mentor, was killed in Zimbabwe, he burned all of his belongings and clothes. He then went to a park, set up a tent, and began proselytizing at people. After returning from Christ for the Nations Institute, he began driving around Minnesota with a giant cross on wheels. He said this to the Star Tribune when asked about his religious beliefs. "The Bible says, if we break just one of his commandments, it's like we have broken them all, and we become a slave to sin." In writings police seized from his vehicle, he wrote, "If you want to save the country, you have to get your hands dirty." Vance Boelter's past points to a religious and right-wing political motive, and somebody of not stable mind, not a conspiracy theory involving Tim Walz. And giving any sort of veracity to the claims of this dangerous person is also dangerous. So anybody entertaining the ramblings of Vance Boelter is just doing that for clout or political motivation. In fact, Mellisa Hortman was the Speaker of the House before Lisa DeMuth became Speaker of the House. And she helped Nick Shirley with his video.